Hi and welcome to episode 45 of the This is Reportage podcast. My name is Alan Law, I'm the founder of This is Reportage and This is Reportage family, and I'm a photographer too. Super to talk to the fab Anna Hardy today. Anna was originally a wedding photographer and has transitioned fully to family photographer now, as well as being an educator too. She was also one of our judges for our first collection over on our documentary family photography sister site, This is Reportage Family. Anna shares so much with us today, including top tips for if you're a wedding photographer looking to get into family photography, an exhilarating story of one of her skydives going wrong and how that links in with the importance of doing things your own way in life and business, why empathy is vital to family work and things you can do to boost that, tips on marketing and how to get more family clients, and so much more. This is Reportage and This is Reportage family members receive an exclusive discount on Anna's The Roost online family photography course too. Sign into your account and visit the members area to see how to get this exclusive discount. Right, over to Anna. Hey Anna, how you doing?
Hello, I'm well, thank you. Are you?
Good, yes, I'm okay. I'm all right. Yeah, how's things with you in general? Yeah, well, how's it been with you this whole? We're going to talk about COVID at some point, so I might as well start, right now. How are you? How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Hopefully COVID free for now.
That's good.
My kids have both gone back to school now, so although how long that will be, I don't know, because it seems like every school is sort of sending people back. And
Oh, are you having ones closing near you already? Are you?
yeah, well, a kid in my eldest son Joe is in year 11, and he was back for 3 days, I think, and then I got an email from the school saying one of the kids in year 12 had been sent home testing positive, but because he's not in his bubble, the massive bubble of 150 kids.
That's quite a big bubble.
I know, but yeah, it thankfully didn't affect us, yet. So I don't know. It's just waiting and seeing, isn't it? But yeah, the kids are really happy to be back in school, and
That's cool.
we're all enjoying a bit more of a sort of not normal routine, but more normal than it has been. So
that's true. I mean, same for me. My kids went back on Monday. How are you finding it? It's been odd, isn't it? Because we've been with them for these months constantly, and then suddenly it's so quiet. It's strange.
Yeah, I know. Are your kids, were they happy to go back?
They were, luckily, yeah, 5-year-old and an 8-year-old, and they were happy. Yeah. Were yours?
Yeah, they were fine. I think my 15-year-old was champing at the bit to sort of get away from mum, I think. But he's no, they've been fine. It's
Are you missing them though?
I am. Although to be fair, throughout lockdown, because I'm sort of separated from their dads. I had days. I had like chunks of time when it was just me and the kids, but then they went to their dads. I had been enjoying days of peace lockdown, which I know not all parents have had. So I'm quite conscious. I've probably been quite lucky in that respect.
That's true. I guess that is true.
I'm not saying I'm lucky to be away from my kid. I love.
No, I know what you mean.
But I think the sort of relentlessness that a lot of parents have felt, I've been quite lucky to have little reprieves from that. So yeah, it's but it is nice to. It's not been within the normal routine that we'd have. So although I've had little tasters of it, and it's nice to sort of feel like it's relatively normal, that it's, that they're at school. I'm working while they're at school like I would normally. So.
And how has COVID been affecting your business? Because obviously, and we'll talk about, you going from weddings into family and stuff, and you do, so much family work now. How, for wedding photographers, obviously it's affected us massively with weddings not being able to go ahead. How has it been, affecting you as a family photographer now?
Well, I mean, first of all, I just want to say, I mean, my heart absolutely goes out to wedding photographers because, I mean, again, I feel like I was sort of lucky in that respect, in that I'd stopped doing them before this anyway. So it's something that I've sort of dodged a bit of a bullet with that, really. And it's just heartbreaking what's happening to the wedding industry. And it's so hard, loads of my friends are wedding photographers, and it's just, every time they feel like they've kind of got things sorted, it's like another piece of news comes out and that scuppers, whatever arrangements they'd made. And it's just, I think it's so difficult not being able to at least plan for the future. You can cope with hard times, can't you? As long as you can make a plan and you can see like your exit strategy out of the problem. Whereas it's like the goalposts just keep being moved, don't they? So it's so hard to make any plans, and it's difficult. Family photography's not been hit as hard. I mean, obviously it completely vanished for several months during sort of March to June, July. It was just non-existent. I did doorstep shoots like a lot of photographers did all over the country. Yeah, that was a real that had like loads of real unexpected benefits as well, actually. It was I think
what like?
Well, I think a lot of us did it as just sort of a way to keep sane and keep working, and bring in a little bit of basic income. I mean, it was really, I mean, I was probably earning less than minimum wage doing it, but it was some wage, when because I'm a limited company, so I sort of fell through the gaps.
Nightmare as well then. That's awful, I know. Yeah.
Well, I know loads of photographers in the same boat, so I think a lot of us did it sort of out of necessity and just a way to sort of keep working and keep sane. But actually it was just such a real heartwarming thing to do. It was great sort of giving all that pleasure to families, and also seeing lots of smiles and resilience and hearing other people's stories. It made the whole lockdown a lot less lonely.
Oh, that's cool.
But also from a business point of view, it was great because you got your name out in the community. I know loads of photographers who actually, it's been almost like the making of them now, that they've got all these contacts and all this sort of warm audience who already now knows and likes and trusts them, who hopefully they can then shoot for in the future.
That makes sense. Yeah, that is quite a bit of a silver lining, isn't it? That's true.
Yeah. I think it's like when needs must. It's sort of, I know a couple of photographers who were really sort of like not stalling, but struggling to kind of get off the blocks with their photography business. And actually I think it had a really good effect of sort of almost like just chucking you in at the deep end. So it's like, whereas if the pandemic hadn't happened, you might sort of dip your toe in slowly and be a bit cautious and not quite dare to take the leap. It was like it just basically just pushed you in, didn't it? And so
that is so true. I think a lot of people have felt that. I felt like that as well with things. And one of the, I think I always would have created this reportage family, but it was definitely, it gave me that impetus to do it right now at this time. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing, is we're so, particularly photographers, because we're sort of primarily creatives before business people usually, that the confidence thing is I'm so sorry, that's my
that's okay.
That's highly unprofessional. Sorry, I'll turn that off.
You're gonna have to read out whatever that notification is.
I was so clear. I put my phone on silent, totally forgot to turn my emails off. I'm so sorry. I can't remember what I was saying now. That's totally thrown me. That was it.
You're saying how we were photographers and creatives originally and stuff.
Yeah, so I think confidence about putting ourselves out there is something that we really, really struggle with. And actually, what the pandemic has forced us to do is to actually go, do you know what, you just need to get over that and put yourself out there, because we need to earn a living, and it's kind of almost like, metaphorically grabbed us by the ear and dragged us out the door and made us do the things that we probably would have done anyway, but we would have probably just taken a lot longer to get round to doing it.
It's so true. I wondered what you're going to say when you say grabbed them by the ear. It's the PG-13 version. I like it.
I'm highly respectable, Alan. I don't know what you thought I was going to come out with.
No, but it is so true, because it's also like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, the worst is kind of happening now, so you might as well go for it and try.
Exactly.
Because Yeah, it's true. So, well, let's delve into your journey then, because you talked about people starting family photography. You started with weddings, didn't you? And then you transitioned into family photography. So, can you tell us about that? How you got started in weddings, and then why and how you made the transition to, like everything really. Just tell us everything, Anna.
Sure. It's a dangerous thing to say to a chatterbox like me. No, I'll give you the canned version.
Okay.
So I'm self-taught. I used to be an English teacher, a secondary school teacher.
Did you? Oh, well, cool.
Yeah. And then I left to travel, intending to go back to it. Bought an SLR, a film SLR, because I'm ancient, and they got the bug, came back.
What bug? Is it your fault? Is all this?
And got the photography bug.
Okay, yeah.
Then came back to the UK, and then basically set up my photography business. So this was about 13 years ago.
Right.
And I initially started shooting weddings, primarily because I wanted to shoot people, and I felt that was the most reliable way to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
And then discovered that I loved it, and that really sort of took off. And I just shot weddings for several years. And then as I got more wedding clients and they then sort of got married and went on to have kids, they started coming back to me asking if I would photograph their growing families. And so the family photography started quite organically that way. And then over the years, I've sort of been shooting families regularly for about 7 years now. And the more I did, the more I just realised that this was really where my passion was. And so about 3 years ago, I stopped shooting. 3 years ago, I made the decision to stop shooting weddings, and I shot my last one 2 to 3 years ago, having made the decision 3 to 4 years ago to stop the weddings.
Right, okay.
Now I just shoot families.
Cool. And you got out at a good time, as you said earlier.
Oh, I know. It's well, I'm hoping that you will all see a real revival. I mean, think of all the joy that you experience at weddings anyway, and think how much extra joy there's going to be after having had to do without environment so long.
It's so true. Yeah. 2021. Roll on 2021, please.
When they come back, they'll come back with an absolute vengeance, and people will appreciate them all the more. So I'm really hopeful that whatever struggles wedding photographers are experiencing now, they will be repaid and more once once it all picks up. I really hope so.
So for you personally then, making that transition from weddings to families, you must have seen a lot of pluses. There must have been, various reasons why you did it. Why did you go from weddings to family then? And why have you chosen not to, because a lot of people, or some people keep shooting weddings as well as families, and, some people do exclusively one or the other. Why for you personally have you gone exclusively into families?
Sure. Well, initially I did do both. So for quite a few years, initially it was like I was a wedding photographer, but then I started doing families as like an extra. Then once I realised how much I loved them, I started offering it as like another equal service. So I was like a wedding and family photographer, and I had the two areas on my website, one, the wedding section and the family section. And they quite happily coexisted for quite a few years, I'd say, like sort of, there were at least 3 years, I'd say, where I did sort of both equally. And then it was just a bit of a natural thing. It wasn't that I didn't like weddings. I shot weddings for well over a decade. I really enjoyed them. But it was, to be completely honest, it was the hours started to take their toll a little bit. I just wanted my weekends back, really. I'd already spent a decade with very few weekends, and I just started missing, like barbecues and Sunday dinners and things like that with my friends and family, and seeing my own kids.
Yeah, especially when they're at school, isn't it? And then you don't get to see them much, and you're working all the weekends.
Exactly. I mean, it was great in terms of with kids because I was always around in the week, and it was sort of, I know that people who have, every job has its pluses and minuses, doesn't it? And a lot of people who are in 9 to 5, they've got their weekends free, but then they often struggle with childcare in the week, and not, so I I was able to see a lot of my kids, but I really missed the weekends. And also I just felt like I was maybe getting not too old, because it's not too old, but I found that I was identifying more with like the parents of the bride and groom rather than the bride and groom. And I just felt like I was sort of the things that I found myself getting distracted at weddings by almost like the sort of sub stories to it, like the kids under the table or the look of parents' faces. And I found that actually it was all the sort of parent and child stuff at the wedding that was really getting to me and, you know, really getting under my skin, and at the same time loving doing the family shoots. And it just sort of started presenting itself really as like something that I wanted to do for both positive reasons and to stop the negative things of you know, all my weekends going.
Totally makes sense. Was it scary though, you know, when you made that decision to like fully finish weddings and go all in family photography? Was it a scary time?
Yeah, it really was. But I'm a real firm, anyone who kind of knows me or have heard me say this before, is like a firm believer in like leap and the net will appear. And I think when you commit to something, you make it work. A bit like we were just saying with the doorstep shoots and, you know, and sort of pandemic emergency measures, you know, it's kind of like when you go, right, well, this has to work now, then you make it work because it has to work and you've committed to it. And there's something very scary about like publicly saying, right, I've stopped now. And you almost feel like you're making it up. I remember when I first said, right, no more weddings now, it's just family, and announced it. It felt like I was sort of, just making it up.
It must have been quite surreal. And did the last wedding that you shot, did the bride and groom know it was like your last wedding?
Yeah, I was so lucky with it. I mean, to be honest, I was lucky my whole wedding career. Like the couples were just lovely, you know, almost without exception, you know, if not without exception. It was my last couple were just so lovely. It was over in East Yorkshire, and it was they made it really special actually. But I was so glad. I felt like it finished with a bang. You know, they were like, it was exactly the wedding that I would have wanted to have ended with. They were just lovely, and actually I just before, about 2 weeks before lockdown, did a family shoot for them. They've now got a little boy, Zachary.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah. So I'm still in touch with them now. They're lovely.
That's cool.
It felt weird, but you have to everything. If you don't ever expand your comfort zone, you'll never kind of grow, will you? You know, you have to sometimes do things that feel a bit scary.
Oh, I'm such a firm believer in that. Yeah, even though I get nervous about so many different things, I still try and just say yes to things and do them, you know, and I think that's been a very good thing. Yeah, definitely. You mentioned about jumping and the nets will appear there. I read on your About Me page that you used to jump out of planes in your 20s. So did you have that mentality when you were doing that? You know, what was that, literally parachute jumping, was it?
Yeah, I did. So the first one that I did was one for charity. I was working at the time. It was just before I did my teacher training actually, and I was working in an office in Manchester. And I think there were about 8 of us all did, you know, a parachute jump for charity. The sort of intending it to be as like a one-off. So we did it, but then me and this other guy, Neil, we both just loved it, and we were like, right, I want to train to do this. So we both I didn't have a car at the time, and so he used to drive us. We were both in Manchester, and he used to drive us. It was at Tilstock Airfield in Shropshire near Whitchurch, and we'd go and sort of trained up and trained to do it. So
how many have you done then? Like, how many jumps?
Well, not that many actually. I've only done 11, which
that's a lot still.
Well, it's not compared to people who do it, you know. I mean, that was sort of doing it most weekends over kind of, you know, a year. Actually, Neil, we stopped going in the end because Neil met a lady who is now his wife, I think, actually. So it was all for a good cause. But yeah, he obviously wanted to see her at weekends, and he was my lift there. So it all kind of just
Eats it out a bit.
naturally, yeah. And I had on my 10th jump, I had to go to reserves. I had to do a reserve run, which sort of shit me up a little bit.
What does that mean? I don't even know. What does that mean?
Well, I had to cut my main parachute.
Oh, oh no, not really.
Yeah, so
Oh,
I made myself do another one after that, because I thought if I don't do it, then I won't ever do it again. So
oh.
I did do another one after that, and then Neil stopped going, and so it kind of just fizzled out. But
Oh, but that is mental. Jumping out of a plane. You know, I get nervous. I don't know why I talk about nerves so often, but I get nervous shooting weddings. Obviously, you know, it goes, you know, after the
yeah.
first like 8 hours or what. No, it goes earlier than that. But I'm throwing yourself out of a plane. I mean, that is hardcore. I mean, when you've done something like that, does it make other things in life less scary? Or is that a cliche that's not actually true? I don't know.
I don't know really. I kind of think different things scare different people. Like, there are some people who might find jumping out of a plane not that scary, but then be terrified about, I don't know, like asking someone out on a date or starting their own business, or do you know what I mean? And vice versa. So I don't know. I mean, certainly what I found with skydiving, which I really wasn't expecting, is that actually I got more scared the more I did.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I kind of expected that the first one I'd crap myself, and then after that it'd just be like a doddle. But actually, I got increasingly more nervous the more I did.
But you still push yourself to do it then. That's cool.
Yeah, I do remember. Yeah, it's yeah, it was. I remember it's called the jump master, who's like the guy in charge, or lady in charge, who sits in the plane with you and like tells the pilot when to cut the engines, and tells you, you know, when it's your turn to go out. They're kind of like in charge.
Okay.
And I remember doing it like, and him just saying, just look in my eyes and don't look. So as I'd stare at him, he was called Pat. And he reminded me a bit of, like, you know, Lord Flashheart out of Blackadder.
Oh no, I've never watched Blackadder actually.
It's like Rick Mayall's character, but he had like an outrageous big moustache and was sort of like, yeah, he was great. But he used to just say, just look at, so as you jump out the plane, I'd just look at Pat and keep eye contact. And he was laughing. He was like, honestly, your face as you went out.
Have you got photos of you doing it? Was that have you got like GoPro footage? Was that in the days before GoPro and stuff?
Yeah, wow, yeah, this was this was probably 20 years ago that I used to do this. Yeah, because I'm 42 now, and this was, yeah, like early 20s. But I've only got my first one. I didn't do any, or the ones that I did on my own, I didn't have footage of. But the first one that I did, which was a tandem one, so I didn't have to do anything. I was just strapped to the instructor, and then I did get a video of that. A different guy jumped out at the same time with a camera on his helmet.
Oh, cool. Have you still got that?
No, it's on. Do you know what? I really wanted it. It's on video as well, so I don't even know if I could play it now. I remember it got that. What's it called? Was it Kenny Loggins? If I remember his name, that Danger Zone.
Oh yeah, from Top Gun. That's classic.
It got as the soundtrack, and yeah, cool. Just it was quite funny. I would like to dig it out, but I don't know. I think it's probably.
You gotta find it, digitize it. It'd be so cool. You know, I was randomly listening to that song whilst washing up, like last week, actually.
Did it get you in the zone?
It did, yeah. I scrubbed very hard. It was cool. but as well as you doing that, I love that you do the skydiving, and that's so cool. But you also mentioned that you're learning to fly yourself. Are you flying things?
Well, it's had to start. I haven't done it obviously since COVID. It's sitting in a small Cessna with, you know, so I've not done it since, well, yeah, just before the pandemic. But for my 40th birthday, my dad bought me a flying lesson because he knew I'd always wanted to learn to fly a plane, and so I did that, and then I kind of carried on learning, but then pandemic happened. It's quite expensive though. It's sort of so it's not something you can kind of do every weekend, but
That's very cool though. But there's a new flight simulator game that I've got, which is uses the actual, the Bing map data of the world. You should get that now. That'd be cheaper.
Oh right, okay. No, I'll look for that. Yeah, that's good. It's actually, I mean, it's really I kind of thought, oh, I bet it's dead simple. Once it looks complicated, but I bet it's really simple, and it's just not. It's like they show you all the dials, and you're just like, I will never ever learn all of this. But but no, I loved it. It just I did it at oh gosh, what's it called? At like City Airport, just near where I live in Manchester.
That's cool. Were you scared for doing? I'd be so scared doing that. Were you scared doing that? No.
Not only sort of scared in case like the plane malfunctions. I'm not scared about like being up in the sky and that thing. It's more, I guess no, not really.
Well, like your instructor gets like really, is it just you and one other instructor in the plane?
Yeah, it's like, it's ancient. It's really old Cessna. It's like, it's about the size of, like, I don't know, like a downstairs loo under the stairs. Tiny little thing. There's just you and you and them, and there's little space to put your bag behind the seats.
It sounds terrifying to me. Is there a way?
It's really cool though. You feel, I mean, it's just like, it's just so peaceful, and you're kind of, although certain things as well made me laugh, because I sort of always assumed there was a real complicated high-tech way of doing everything, but like when you turn, he was like, so just lift up the wing now. And I was like, well, why? He's like, well, just to make sure there's nothing there. Like so you kind of like, before you turn, you just lift it, just like you would in a car, like check your blind spot. You do
right, wow.
As well. So I was like, oh, so you just look out the window to see if the plane's there. He's like, yeah. Doesn't the radar do that? He's like, well, I'm not going to rely on that.
Oh, that's quite interesting. I have no clue about any of that kind of stuff. Cool. I enjoyed that little height adrenaline flying segue. That was good. Let's go.
Sorry, it's totally photography unrelated.
Oh no, but it's good. I like that. But let's go back to photography for a second. You recently judged for our very first This Is Reportage family collection. Thanks again. It's awesome. Can you tell us about that? Did you enjoy it? Any tips for as a judge, because you were seeing all the images and stories? Any tips for people entering at all?
Yeah. Oh, do you know what? Thanks so much for having me to do that. I loved it. It was a real treat.
It's awesome to have you.
Oh, I really, really love being part of it. Thanks so much. And it was just, the pictures were just gorgeous, and they were so sort of moving. And I think, I mean, you were saying like in terms of tips, I think as photographers, we're very visual creatures. So there's the temptation is to fix very much on kind of light and composition and creating this sort of aesthetically beautiful shot, which of course is we want to do as well. But the ones that you want ones that really kind of hit you in the gut, that just really grab your heart. And there were so many of those, so many where, and it doesn't have to necessarily be really serious moments, I mean, some of them were incredibly serious, moving moments, but even just like the little light-hearted stuff, but just those little moments when you see like that real moment of joy, or that real like belly laugh, or just those, something where you instantly connect with it emotionally, and you think, yeah, I've felt that before, or if I've not, I can tell what that would feel like. It's and connecting empathetically with your subject is really key. Interestingly, actually, I got messaged by a few people who had won the awards.
Oh, cool.
And there was somewhere, I think, like they were really shocked, because they were like, I'd just taken it of like my own family, and I think they'd sort of almost like discounted it because they haven't got the confidence then to do it with other families. But a lot of the reason why you take such good photos of your own family is because you love them. So you're emotionally invested in them already. You're already empathetic towards them. You're already in tune with how they feel. So you just, I'm not saying you should love your clients in the same way as your family. Obviously, you're not.
Adopt everyone, yeah.
But it's that same, you have to care about them. You have to emotionally connect with them and think like, how are they feeling? What do they care about? What's important to them in this moment? You know, what's going through their mind? And that's when all the magic starts to happen in photos. So I think, you know, and there was loads of that in all the entries. There was so much sort of heart and soul and love. It was great.
Oh, it's cool. Thank you. I mean, it's an awesome collection that you curated there. The results were amazing. And that's great. That's really interesting to hear from you then. And that empathy, especially, you know, how do you how do you think you get that with your families? I mean, does it help? Do you get information from them beforehand about their specific interests? I mean, do you spend time at the beginning of a shoot to like get to know them before photographing or anything? You know, do you have any tips on kind of building that kind of rapport and that empathy?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think it's really important. So I always send a questionnaire out beforehand, and I don't just ask, you know, name, address. I ask lots of questions about them, what they enjoy doing, what their kids are into. I ask them to sort of describe their perfect day, and it's really nice actually. Loads of people. Sometimes you get ones that come back where they've just, you know, they've just kind of trotted it out dead quickly because they're in a rush or can't be bothered or whatever. But loads of them go into like loads of detail, and it's quite, people like talking about themselves. So it's kind of, often you get these real long ones, and it's so nice because you kind of feel like then you already know them a little bit before you get there, and it gives you loads of stuff to ask them about and to talk about, and it's often really interesting. It's just, I really enjoy getting to know people. So I just, rather than me sort of going, because when you're there working, it's, you know, the pressure's on, it's harder to think of things on the hoof. I can't even think how you say that word now. Hoof. Oh, anyway, I should just have used a different phrase, shouldn't I?
I like it. I like it. Yeah. Huff or hoof? What do I say? Huff. I say huff, I think.
Oh, a horse's hoof. Right. See.
I say so many things wrongly though, I think. But yeah, huff. No, huff. No, hoof. Huff.
I've planted a seed of doubt now. Yeah, so like I can't think what another old phrase for it is. But anyway, you know, when you're under pressure, it's harder to think. But so I make sure that in the car beforehand, before I go in, I reread their questionnaire, and I, you know, I'll sort of make sure, so I can ask them about things that are interesting or that they might want to talk about. And it's and I just see the shooters getting to know them. I, you know, don't think of it as like I'm there to take pictures. Think I'm there to really get to know this family.
That's cool. Makes sense totally. And something that I want to touch upon, and that's, and it may sound crass to talk about, but money's an important part of what we do as well as businesses, you know, and we've got to pay the bills. And I think, you know, a common misconception of family photography can be that, you know, you can't earn as much money as weddings, you know, but how have you found that? Because you're obviously making money and, you know, living and doing really well. So yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, firstly, yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it's like, this sort of money mindset, I think, is something that holds a lot of photographers back, because we almost feel like we shouldn't be wanting that, or that shouldn't be the focus, because we should be doing it because of the love of photography. And, you know, and of course there are valid reasons. There are lots of reasons. There doesn't have to be just one reason why you love it. You can love photography and want to do it for all these honourable and artistic reasons, whilst also needing and wanting to support your family and make enough money to get, you know, and lots of us, we need our photography to pay our bills and support our families. There's nothing wrong with wanting and needing to make a decent living out of it.
No, sure.
So yeah, absolutely no apologies for that at all. I don't think it's crass. It's just, you know, practical and reasonable. And yeah, certainly the amounts per shoot are less than weddings. So you will obviously need to do more shoots to get more bookings to earn the same amount. But again, it just depends what you're charging. You know, the more you charge, the less shoots you need to book to earn the same amount. So but it's different because you have to book more, you have to be much more proactive with marketing, I think. I mean, I would argue that actually in today's climate, with the wedding industry being so competitive and saturated, I actually think marketing is now, just as essential for wedding photographers, but it's especially so for family photographers. And you're living hand to mouth a lot more. With weddings, I used to know what my income would be months in advance, because you're booked so far in advance. You can plan, when the gaps are going to be, and you can try and fill them a few months in advance. Whereas family photography, it tends to sort of, sometimes they book you a few months in advance, but generally speaking, they'll book you for within the next month or two.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask about that. That's quite different. So actually,
Yeah.
is that yeah, that was being, it would be just something that would scare me a little bit more. But I guess you get used to that then, not knowing what your income is going to be in 12 months.
Yeah, and you have to, you really have to just embrace marketing. I know a lot of us photographers, we don't like sort of, promoting ourselves, but to be blunt, you just have to get over it. Like, it's sort of, if you need and want to pay the bills with it, it's got to be done. And you need a regular stream of leads. So you need to be regularly generating, new leads. You need to be regularly sort of trying to get these people through the door. And you need to, you just have to be a lot more on it with that.
Okay.
And yeah, it is. And you have to price it. If you're wanting to make a full-time living out of it, you can't price it as just like a cheap all-in fee. You'll get the work, but you'll absolutely burn yourself out. It's sort of, and you'd have to book so many shoots to make a living that way. You need to price it appropriately, and charge what you're worth. And you can do it. It just takes, you just need to have sort of confidence in it, and you have to have a plan and a system. You can't kind of wing it as much,
Yeah, no, that's cool. And I mean, it's also good what you're saying. And I've been listening to you recently as well, because I've been doing bits of your Roost online course, which is brilliant. And what you say is so good. And you do lots of training, don't you? So you've done lots of training in the past with workshops and mentorings and things. Can you tell us a bit more about that? About all your training that you do?
Yeah, sure. It's actually really changing this month as well. The Roost workshop that you mentioned, my sort of family photography course, which goes through all the sort of specifics of how you need to tailor your photography business to shooting families, because it doesn't work in the same way as weddings and other types. That I'm continuing to run. So that's been going for a few years, and that's going to continue. But all the other stuff that I've been doing, so I've been doing mentoring, in-person one-to-one mentoring, online one-to-one mentoring. I've been doing portfolio reviews, website reviews. I've got branding, marketing, and productivity courses called the Toolkits.
Wow, that's a lot of training. That is a lot.
Downloads. So basically, I was just spreading myself far too thinly, and if you just try and do too much, you end up doing you can't put as much into any of them, because you're just trying to, juggle too much. So what I've actually done now is stopped offering all of those things and sort of amalgamated it all into one offering, and decided to focus on people in the process of setting up their photography business. So now that's all going to be rolled, all those resources are kind of rolled together into a membership for fledgling photographers, sort of in the early days of setting up their photography business. So there'll be like, the mentoring will be incorporated in that. There'll be like group calls, but you can also add on sort of one-to-one if you want, as like an extra. But it's only available through that now. And the sort of reviews and all the content that was in the toolkits is getting sort of, put into there. And so it's all just tying it together, and I'll be able to, I know that having this focus now I'll be able to deliver it so much more efficiently for not spreading myself in 15 different directions.
That makes sense. Oh yeah, that sounds a good idea. Yeah, exciting. So that's not launched right yet, is it? Is there somewhere people can go to get notified when it is ready and things? Can I
Yeah,
put a link in the link on the podcast, the post on our site and stuff?
yeah, of course you can. I will send you the link to it. It's yeah, it's not open for enrollment yet. It's going to launch on Monday, the 5th of October. So in about 3 weeks time, as we're chatting now, I don't know when this is going to go out, but 3 weeks from now. But there's a wait list that you can, if you think you might be interested, you can just pop yourself on the wait list, and then you'll be notified as soon as it goes live. And there's also a special discount for everyone who's on the wait list.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, people, if you're listening now whilst running, I always say whilst running, but I hate running. So maybe people are doing some more my wife listens to podcasts while doing housework and stuff, which maybe people do as well. I don't know. Well, however you're enjoying this at the moment, if you do head to thisreportage.com, and the posts that I'll put up for this podcast, I'll include a link through to that, Anna. That's cool. And by the way, anyone who's listening, if you are a member of TIR or TIR family, then we have a discount for Anna's The Roost family photography online course, which I'm doing myself, which is brilliant as well. So yeah, that's all good. Cool. Anna, let's change tack slightly.
Okay.
When a random question, but when you've reached old age, and you're looking back at your life, what would you like to think about the life you've led?
Oh, well, I'm just going to have to give you a hugely cheesy answer now, aren't I?
That's good. Cheese is good. I like cheese. Cheese is good.
Well, I mean, I guess aside from the obvious one of, full of love with lots of, people that I love, I would say adventure. I'd like it to have been full of adventure.
That's cool.
The main thing, yeah.
That's cool. That's a good word to sum up a life, I think. Adventurous. Are you a proper and not just so by adventure? Do you not mean just adrenaline things like jumping out of planes and bungee jumping and stuff? You just mean a whole variety of things. Have you done bungee jump, by the way? Have you done?
I've not done a bungee. I've done a what do you call it? Tarzan Swing, which is basically just a bungee jump, but instead of the cord being like above you, so you just drop down like with a bungee jump, the cord, it's the whatever it's called, the bit that holds it, I don't know, the crane or whatever, is like way out in front of you, so when you jump down you swing forward, if that makes sense. So I did that in Costa Rica with my well, he's now 15, but he was 12 or 13 at the time he did it as well.
Oh wow, man, gutsy as well then.
Yeah, he sort of made it was funny. The guys that we were doing zip lining through the rainforest, and it was like an optional thing because it was quite scary. And they said, "Look, you don't have to do this." We got to this one bit, and they said, "It's here if you want to do it, but you don't have to." And like it was all adults apart from my Joe, and then it was sort of like me and a couple of other middle-aged women, and then some other middle-aged men, and the men all sort of went, "No, no," and then. Joe kind of goes, "I'll do it, and you'll do it with me, won't you, Mum?" I was like, "No, well, I have to do it now."
Yeah, that's true.
And then I think, because then I said yes. Then a couple of the other women said, "Yeah, right, we'll do it too." And then the men all looked really sheepish, and they were, so then they like reluctantly volunteered.
That's funny.
They get shown up by all the chicks and the kids.
Well, zip lining through the rainforest as well. Then I mean, if that's pretty adventurous. You've had adventures by the sound of it.
Yeah, I love to travel, and I just like doing new things. Anything by adventure. You were saying, what do you mean? I guess just like anything new, whether that's new places or, I like my other half's got a camper van that I sort of adopt as my own. And often we won't necessarily even go far. I might just go to like Peak District, but we always try and go somewhere that we've not been before. Or
that's cool.
It's just nice. It doesn't have to be like wild, crazy adventures, but it's just nice to just new stuff. I guess just try and do as much new stuff as I can.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good way to live your life. Yeah, definitely. Let's go on another theme, which I think you like, is food. So from your about page, I can see what would be your last meal on death row?
Oh my God. Can I have like a banquet?
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder how much they are allowed. I don't know. I don't
An
know.
all-you-can-eat buffet, basically. That's what I'd go for. Um, uh,
We
uh,
used talking about Manchester actually. We used to go to a great all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet in
did
Manchester.
you?
Mm.
Where?
Oh, I can't remember now. It was years ago. I used to be like drunk at like 3 a.m. in the morning as well, and coming out of Rock World or something. But sorry, let's go back to your food. Go back to your last meal.
Okay, do you want specific dishes then? Well,
Yes.
it would have to be, I reckon, starting with the main, it's got to be curry. Like, curry's I mean, I could literally eat it all day, every day for the rest of my life quite happily.
What's your favorite curry?
Oh, well, I love paneer, like Indian cheese. So like saag paneer is really nice, like spinach and cheese. Well, actually, the Huey, my 5-year-old, he always gets mutter paneer, which is basically just cheesy peas, Indian
Okay. Is
peas.
it spicy? Because my 5-year-old or an 8-year-old, they don't have anything spicy. Is it spicy?
Well, not usually if you just have it as a side dish, but you can sort
Okay.
of ask them to make it spicy or not. So no, Huey's a bit funny with my 5-year-old. He's a bit funny with spice. My 15-year-old will eat anything. He's inherited his mother's appetite, so me and him both enjoy spicy stuff. Um, but yeah, and prawns, king prawns. Yeah, generally sort of quite like a hot and spicy sort of prawn one. I enjoy.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's making me hungry now on this series. Because, but you also you say on your about page as well. You say your reputation for being a gannet once saw me win an eating competition against a 6-foot unit of a man known to his mates as Shrek. So I thought I had to ask you, what was that then? What was that eating competition?
So in my local pub, which, well, no, it's not local now. It was where I lived. This was sort of, yeah, like my mid 20s, and I was in the local pub, and I can't even remember how it came about, but it was. I think someone had said, he'd said, oh, I'll eat more. He was boasting about his appetite, basically, and one of my mates said, well, you've obviously not met Anna then. And so it got into this sort of like locking horns about, and so it was really just, well, how could we prove it there and then in the pub? And so it
Pickled
was
eggs, was it, or something?
no, it was crisp. So
Oh, no.
it was speed rather than quantity. It was who could eat 3 bags of crisps the quickest. So we had three. We bought 3 bags of crisps and then like troughed away.
That's so random, isn't
Yeah.
it? Oh, I love that though. But you won. You won.
Well, yeah, I do tend to sort of inhale food. And
Oh, I do love crisps though. I love crisps. What's your favorite crisps?
oh, that's quite a tough one. I used to really like tomato snaps, actually, but I don't know if you remember them. They're like red packet. I'm sure they've got like a wizard on the front or something weird, or a
Oh, I think
dragon.
so. Yeah, I think I do.
But I don't think I can eat them anymore. I don't see them often. I can't eat gluten. I'm pretty sure they've got gluten in them.
Uh,
But I do like sort of sweet chili ones, sweet chili crisps, probably my favourite flavour. There's a nice what they call Tyrrells. Tyrrells do a nice sweet chili one.
that's posh. That sounds a bit posh, Anna. That's like
So much with my crisp eating.
Oh, I love that. That is cool. Right, cool. Let's go back. Let's go back to photography and go back to that. Because I think, most of our listeners are wedding photographers, although we do have other photographers listening, and obviously with the start of Reportage Family, more family photographers listening as well. But yeah, because most are wedding photographers, what would be, your top tips for wedding photographers who are wanting to get into family photography then? Right now they're really thinking, I would love to get into family stuff. What would be your top tips for them to kind of get into it?
Sure. Okay. Well, first of all, you are in an amazing position being a wedding photographer of having a huge list of warm potential clients, i.e., your past wedding clients, because getting a booking, 80% of that is like them already knowing, like, and trusting you. And so I think a big mistake people make is to instantly focus on bringing in new clients, people who don't know about them yet. And it's just missing a massive trick, because why start from scratch when you've already done 80% of the work of getting them to know, like, and trust you with your past clients? So revisit past clients. You might think that your ex-wedding clients know that you shoot families, but they probably don't. So email them, get in touch with them and let them know, in case you didn't know, I'm now doing this. You could even do like a special offer for past clients to incentivize them to do it. So definitely make use of your existing client base.
Great advice then.
Yeah, and then do a big thing again that people tend to struggle with when they want to make the transition is, can I shoot families in the way that I want to shoot them? And I'm worried that people won't want the style that I do, and they feel so. Do, like, it's up to you how many you do, but maybe say, like, you're going to try and do 5 or 10 like free portfolio building shoots, but you choose the clients, and then you can shoot it in exactly the way that you want to do it. You're not stressing out because they've paid you. It's like you're doing them a favor, you're giving them free photography. Make sure that you ask them beforehand to agree that you can use them on your website and stuff, otherwise it's no use to anyone really.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the payment really in exchange for getting the free photos, is that you can use them online. And then you've got a portfolio of shots done exactly how you want to do it, and people want what they see, so you show what you want more of. So that way you're starting off right from the start with work that is exactly how you want it to be, and you will attract people who are like-minded.
Very cool.
I think those probably.
That's great. Yeah, it's great advice. And your past wedding clients being warm leads, that's brilliant. Really good advice. And what, after you've gone through those kind of like warm leads then, and maybe you've been doing the family work for a year or so, in terms of marketing, which we spoke about is so important, and getting yourself out there, what's been like some of the most effective things for you?
Definitely collaborations with other brands who serve the same target audience. So I've had a couple of, so for example, there are 2 brands that I've done work with. Both I've done paid work for them, sort of shooting commercially for them, but also I've then done various collaborations with them because we got on really well, and we've got the same kind of ethos. There's a reusable nappy company called Baba and Boo, and there's a sort of children's sort of lifestyle store, toys and clothes and homewares, called Acorn and Pip. So their audiences are very much like my type of families. We've got the same sort of ethos, the same target client. By doing things together, we're introducing each other's audience to the other brand, so it's
That's
mutually
cool.
beneficial. So tap into other people's audiences, think of some way that you can help them and their audience, and then it's like being introduced by a mate at a party. It's like if they're saying, oh, this is Anna, she's really cool, have a look at her stuff, people are much more likely to be on board with that than if I just sort of barge in on my own going, hi, I'm Anna, look at me. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So definitely collaborations with like-minded brands who serve the same target clients.
Cool. Good advice as well. This is great. It's so cool. I love this. It's cool. And what do you find the most challenging aspect of family photography to be?
Yeah, probably marketing, because I think it's something that I've definitely, like I say, I've had to sort of slap myself around the face a bit and say, get a grip and just do it. It's something that I sort of struggled with for quite a long time, feeling like a bit sort of, well, for want of a better word, like icky about kind of promoting yourself. It just feels a bit cringy. And actually getting to grips with marketing and realizing that it isn't cringy. It's just letting people. You could be the best photographer in the world. If people don't know you're there, what's the point? It's letting people know that you're there. And getting the biggest thing that helped, that I used to struggle with, was feeling like I'm inconveniencing them in some way by letting them know about what I do. You know, you feel like you're kind of, well, that's not good, me telling them. But actually, a big mindset shift that really helped me is basically you have to believe and know that what you're doing is helpful to people, because if it's not, you shouldn't be doing it. You know, you shouldn't be selling a service if you don't believe it genuinely will benefit those people. So given that, let's assume you know that what you're doing is beneficial to them, you're kind of doing them a disservice by not letting them know about it, you know. And you're just letting people know about something that is going to be beneficial to them, you know, and that enables you to run your business. It's just, there's nothing sort of, you're not strong arming people into booking you. That's really different.
You're not going like door to door, are you? It's not, you're not bothering people.
Well, that's, you know, only during hard times.
Do you imagine that? You know, that it's probably a numbers game. That would probably work. Like every 100, you know, the 100th door that you do, it might actually work. But yeah, I couldn't do that. But
do you know what though? You've hit the nail on the head there when you say it's a numbers game, because that's exactly what marketing and lead generation is. Like, loads of people, photographers, whether they're wedding or family photographers, will say, I just can't get enough bookings. But then they're not doing anything to bring in lots of leads, which is marketing, because it's a numbers game. Say you convert like 1 in 10 leads, and actually even that, if you're doing that, that's really good. You know, it's a really high hit rate. Generally it's usually about 5%. Well, it depends what kind of leads. I mean, there are different, depends whether they're cold leads or warm leads or whatever, but without getting into all that, you know, the conversion rate from leads to bookings is very low for anyone, no matter how good you are. It just, most people won't book. So if you want bookings, you've just got to get those leads. You have to be getting those leads, because it is a numbers game. And if you've only got small numbers of leads, what hope have you got to then get decent numbers of bookings? You've got to get those leads in, you know, because it is a numbers game. Yeah.
So true. Yeah, so true. And and I think having different avenues of different kind of marketing leads, I think is good. Like diversification in general. But obviously, the year of this pandemic, diversification has been the forefront of so many of us. But yeah, diversification within marketing, I think. You know, for me, for my weddings, it's like, you know, SEO, but then social media as well, because you don't know what's going to happen if one kind of dries up. So I think that's good as well.
Yeah, I would say, what I would definitely say with that is that it's good to try different things, but I would always advise just doing one at a time, because I think otherwise it's so easy to get overwhelmed and to feel like, well, I need to be doing SEO and I need to be collaborating and I need to do Facebook ads and I need to do Instagram and I need to do this. And, you know, it's literally, it just makes you feel like your head's going to explode.
That's true.
And kind of like I was saying with me deciding to scrap all the other types of education to distill it down into one, or it's the same principle of that it's better to do one thing really well than to try and do like 8 things half-assed.
That's so true. Yeah.
And definitely. Your energy levels will thank you for it as well. And so definitely try it with marketing. There is no one right kind of marketing. And you're quite right. There are loads of different ones that you can try. And you should pick one that sits right with you, that you actually feel like, you know, I don't hate the thought of doing this. You know, I think that one seems doable for me.
That's so true.
If it works, you know, arguably, do you even need to do any other types of marketing? Just rinse and repeat. If it's working, it's bringing leads in, just keep doing it. If it doesn't work, try something else.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. And that's like, and you can say that even just, I totally agree with you, even within social media itself, you know, don't think that you have to have a presence on every single social media platform. Just you can experiment and then see the ones, like whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, the ones that bring you the bookings, and then put your energy into those ones.
Yeah. Exactly. And that will be different for different people, because you don't love being somewhere, you aren't most likely going to do a very good job of it. Like if you're not in, people know when you're enjoying something, you can tell. And you know, if it's something that's just a total chore to you, my advice would be just sack it off. Like, just, you know, what's the point? Because potentially you could even do your business harm, because if they come across you on that platform and you just look like you don't really enjoy being there or know what you're doing, and it's all hodgepodge, it doesn't make your brand look very good.
That's true.
Better to scrap it and just make sure that wherever people encounter you, you're on fire. Do you know what I mean?
That is definitely true. Yeah, and I love the way you use the words hodgepodge again. You use that in your. I've noticed you used it on your roost course. I was like, yeah, it's such a cool word. I love it.
At least I'm not trying to say hoof or her.
It's half. It's half. I'm sure. Right. No, let's go to another question. Let's go to Jane's question. Have you? I like this question. Well, it's sometimes quite interesting. Have you made any really memorable mistakes?
Oh, well, I can say without thinking of any examples, yes, because I know that even if I can't instantly think of examples, I know that I've felt like, oh my God, so many times. Yeah, I would be able to think of lots of them. Mistakes with, well, so you're saying memorable mistakes. So do you mean like embarrassingly memorable? Or
That sounds good. Yeah, that sounds good.
well, from like a sort of what do you call it? Oh God, these silly words again. Like slapstick point of view, I've split my trousers climbing up onto a tractor to do a group shot. You know, like the big group shot of the whole wedding where there's 150 people or whatever, and they were in a field, and I climbed up onto a tractor and just completely split my trousers, and the video guy's face was basically in my eyes. And so I've done that. I've also fallen down a bank and got covered in mud.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, just like walk. You know, when you're shooting and walking backwards and just not looking where you're going.
Oh yeah.
That. So that's kind of silly mistake. But I've also just generally made mistakes, like when I first started doing family photography, like buying. I would say it's a mistake. Like I bought, you know, a projector and loads of samples and did like in-home, in-person sales, and it was just disastrous because I'm so bad at it. And that was an absolute mistake because it was just horrible for everyone involved. Like I was just fumbling my way through this really awful sales pitch that I didn't want to be doing. They're looking at me like, just shut up and go away. And then I'm trying to talk them out of buying things because I feel like I don't want to be salesy. It just, you know, and you just, mistake. So actually stopping doing all that that's
Well, that's really interesting though. And you mentioned, you kind of talk about that when you did that I can't even talk, 10 top tips video that you did for members. So if you're a member of TIR family, Anna did a video for us, which is super, 10 top tips. And you spoke about that. And I think that is, again, a misconception that some people have about family photography, that you have to do it that way, that you like have to do in-person sales. And obviously it works for some people, but for others, like for you found you don't have to do that. And you can do things your own way and still be, you know, making a successful business.
Yeah, exactly. There's no one size fits all. Like it would be wrong for me to say you mustn't do in-person sales because it really works for some people. Just as it's wrong for them to say you must do in-person sales because like I don't, and that really works for me. And there'll be loads of people. You can you can choose any approach to shooting, selling, you know, your star, anything, and you'll find people to argue that that's the right way to do it because we're all different. It's exactly how it should be. And there's just no one size fits all. And you've just got to, it's like I was saying with the marketing, you've just got to find something that sits right with you and that you feel confident and positive about. Because if you're confident and positive about it, that's infectious. Other people will be as well. And the same in reverse. If you're feeling like me with the stupid samples and and, you know, I'm not very technically minded, you know, I was like fannying around with the plugs and, you know, just not really knowing what I'm doing. I mean, it's just awful. So that's not, and I'm giving off these like cringy, oh my God, get me out of here vibes, which obviously isn't going to make them feel like they really want to
give me your money.
They're just like, get this weird woman out of my house. But
maybe that's a good excuse to give you money. Like, I'll give you money and you leave.
Pay me to go away. I think that's probably what happened. But it definitely mistake wise was And I would say that this is like a category of mistakes. When I say I can think of loads of cases, when I've kind of done that inward groan of like, oh no, that just wasn't a good way to do things. It's almost always been I've done something because I've seen that someone else is doing it and I've thought I should be doing it, rather than because it actually felt okay to me, whether that's cocking up a shot or, doing it. Just if it works, it works. It doesn't matter if someone else isn't doing it that way. If it works for you, then that's the right thing.
I think that's great advice. Really good top level advice for everything that we do. I don't know if it's a photography thing, especially. I think because we see so many photographers all the time on social media doing these things, showing these things. We always have these thoughts that we have to be doing these things. I mean, we really don't.
No, and it's just because it works for someone else doesn't mean it will work for you. Like, you have to find your own way of doing it. And actually, this is very weird, because it just immediately made me think of, we spoke earlier about with the skydiving, and I said I had to go to my reserve parachute.
Oh yeah.
What happened was I went to go for my ripcord and I didn't get it. I couldn't get it. And you're only supposed to go for it once, and in reality you go for it a few times, but and then you have to cut away and go to reserves. Now, the reason it happened afterwards, my Pat, the jump master who I was saying, you have to do a debriefing, obviously, with any reserve run. They want to know exactly what happened and how and all the rest of it. And what had happened was I was doing my drills on the ground before the jump, where I was practicing reaching for my ripcord. And what happened was, and I'd done several jumps like this, always getting my ripcord every time. And this really experienced skydiver walked past me. He went, oh, are you doing your jump? I said, yeah, I'm a bit nervous. And he said, oh, go on, show me your drills then. And he went, oh, is that how you go for your ripcord? And I went, well, yeah. And he went, oh, right, well, I always do it like this, and showed me, like, he just moved his arm in a slightly different way. And I thought, right, well, he's so much more experienced. I need to do it how he does it. And that's what I tried to do. And I didn't get it and went into a spin and had to cut away and use my reserve. And when I told Pat this afterwards, when he said, so what happened? He was like, all your drills before were fine, or the previous jumps were fine. And I said, well, I was chatting to, I can't remember his name now, but whatever this guy was. And and Pat went crazy. He went, you never listen to anyone else. He went, like, if it works for you, it works for you. Like, that worked, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. It doesn't matter if he does it a different way. That works for him. This works for you. Don't ever let me hear you listening that you've listened to anyone else apart from me or you, and I think that's it's exactly the same principle. Just it's so tempting to look at people who are more experienced and think, well, they must know better. But the fact is, the proof's in the pudding. Like, it doesn't matter if they do it differently and get wildly amazing results. The fact is, if you can do it confidently and capably and it's working for you, don't question it. Like, because you could try doing what they do and completely trip up because it's just not the right thing for you personally. And, so try not to be distracted by like every shiny object. Oh, well, they're killing it on Instagram, and this person's using Pinterest and this person's doing, it's like, doesn't matter. Just do what feels right and comfortable to you, and you're far less likely to trip up that way.
That is absolutely brilliant advice, and I think that's awesome how you could get that story to that as well. I think that is so cool. Yeah, don't do what someone else does, because you might almost die like you did as well there. So that is so good, Anna. And honestly, I think we've got, I was going to ask one more question, but I think that is just such a good one just to end it on. And we've got, wow, it's an hour and 5 minutes already. So yeah, I'm gonna have to end it. But that was just the perfect ending story to end it on, and just such a great meaning to that as well. I think that is so cool. Proper cool. Anna, thank you so much for your time. That was so cool.
Thanks for having me. I always enjoy chatting to you, Al. It's lovely. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's an honor to have you on here, and it was an honor to have you judging for us. And thank you again for doing that video for us. And it's so cool. Yeah, anyone's listening now, whilst maybe parachuting, I don't know. Can you listen to podcasts while parachuting?
It's not advisable.
No.
I don't know. Maybe you can. Maybe you can now. I don't.
Maybe these days, yeah. But head to thisreportage.com. I'll include links to Anna's website and her new training, and an example of your awesome work as well. And yeah, Anna, hopefully get to see you in the flesh sometime. Although I don't know when that'll be. But
I know, me too. Yeah, fingers crossed, not too long, eh?
I know.
Definitely. Oh, take care, and thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. That was awesome talking to you. Thanks for just being so open and fun. And yeah, it was awesome. Thank you.
Oh, pleasure. Thanks.
See you later.
See ya. Bye.
Bye. You've been listening to the 45th episode of the This is Reportage podcast. Anna was so great. Hope you enjoyed listening. As mentioned, she will be releasing a brand new membership site soon, the Shutterhood. I've witnessed Anna's training firsthand, so I know how good an educator she is. I'm sure the Shutterhood will be brilliant. If you head over to our site, thisisreportage.com, I'll include a link through to more details of it, where you can also go on the waiting list and you'll get an exclusive discount when launched. This is Reportage and This is Reportage family members receive an exclusive discount on Anna's The Roost online family photography course too. Sign into your account and visit the members area to see how to get this exclusive discount. We have 44 other episodes of the podcast released with photographers such as The Framers, Alison Bounce, Tyler Workin, Adam Johnson, Andrew Billington, Alex Kuss, and many more. If you're not yet a member of TIR, check out all the benefits of joining us, including an unlimited number of images on your profile, 60 Reportage Award and 18 Story Award entries per year, invites to our physical meetups and parties, exclusive discounts, over 17 hours of educational videos featuring tips and advice from some of the world's best photographers, with more videos added regularly, and much more. Deadline for our next round of awards is under a week away now, 23:59 BST on 23rd of September 2020. We've also recently launched our sister site for documentary family photography, This is Reportage Family, which also has the same awards deadline. No poses, nothing staged, this is Reportage. And this is bye for now.